Hi, my name's Joe from gabler.co.uk, and I'm here today to teach you how to install Linux on your computer. Linux is an open source OS, which means it is basically anyone can change the system files and they're allowed to modify it like that. And like Windows, where you're not allowed to change the system, almost the kernel, what the OS needs to work and stuff like that. You're not allowed to modify it. You are allowed to modify it to a certain aspect, but you're quite limited on what you want to do. But with Linux, you can do whatever you like. You can even make your own Linux, which I will be eventually teaching you how to do soon in a couple of videos' time. Before we get started, you're going to need a computer that you don't mind either wiping the hard drive or installing Windows beside Windows and Linux at the same time, so it gives you the choice. You're also going to need a USB stick, because I find a USB stick is the easiest way to do it. You can do it with a CD, but a USB stick is just more convenient because you can wipe it and come back and use it again. You're going to need about you only need about a gig. I've got a 4 gig USB stick, that doesn't matter, and we get it now. There we go, plug that in. It doesn't matter about the speeds or whatever, just any standard USB stick is fine. Just plug it into your computer, and let's begin then. And also you need the USB stick to be wiped. There's multiple ways of installing Linux, there's multiple versions of Linux, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install Ubuntu, and just a basic bit on actually using it. There are thousands of versions of Linux, some better than others, some designed for one purpose, some designed for millions of purposes. 99% of them don't cost, and because of the open source aspects, they don't cost. Anyone can come in and build their own. There is a 1% of Linuxes that do cost, but these are quite hard to find, and there's no point buying a Linux version, because unless you're a massive company that needs support and stuff and constant updates and other stuff that comes with buying Linux, but it's just, they're hard to find basically, and they're only used for massive businesses where they need support and stuff. Also, like I said, there's multiple ways of actually installing Linux to a USB stick, in this case Ubuntu. I suggest UNet booting. Now, UNet booting is such a good way to install Linux, because it's basically, it does everything for you. You don't need to download stuff, then open it up in UNet booting. UNet booting downloads it for you, and then it copies it over to the USB stick, and it copies over the bootloader which the computer needs to start Linux. And I will talk more about bootloaders and kernels and stuff in future videos, and show you how to make your own, and blah blah blah, how to modify kernels, how to make your own bootloaders, and which then leads on to building your own Linux. So just go ahead and download UNet booting. I have done it before, but it's such a small download, I may as well just download it. There you go, downloads off SourceForge. It's only 4.5 meg, so it's tiny, so it'll take a couple of seconds. So go ahead and start UNet booting now once it's installed, and it takes a while. There you go. Okay, and there's UNet booting. UNet booting looks quite basic, but it's quite powerful. So to select, because UNet booting downloads it for you, you have to tell it which one it wants to download. As you can see here, that UNet booting isn't limited to Ubuntu. It has a lot of other versions of Linux, and we will be talking about some of these other ones in the future. But at this moment, we're going to install Ubuntu. I chose Ubuntu because, well, it's the most popular one. It's the most easiest to use, and it just looks so nice because of the new GNOME GNOME is the desktop. Well, GNOME is the Lux, and I will talk more about modifying GNOME as well in future videos, so you can make it look exactly how you want it to. Next box gives you the choice of the version. You've got all old versions of Ubuntu to 8.4, but I would suggest 11.10 live. Live means that, well, I will show you what live means in a bit. Time64 is the 64-bit version. If you don't know what that means, then just install the normal one. But if you do know what it means, I don't suggest installing 64-bit because you don't have to. 32-bit, which is this one, works perfect, works fine. But if you know what you're doing, then 64-bit will be fine. Okay. Now, if you you select your USB stick that you want to install, and your USB, blah, blah, you can leave that the same. You can download an ISO off the Ubuntu website, and you do that by going into Get Ubuntu Now, download and install, choose your version, and then download. But for the purpose of this, we don't need to, because this will do it all itself. So you click on OK, and yes to all, because that means it only came up with that because I had Linux installed on it in the first place. As you can see, this is quite a big download. It is about 700 meg, which means it is going to take a while, especially for me because I've got a slow internet connection. So I'm not going to bother with this because I've done it before. So download, it'll copy all the files, install the bootloader, and then it will ask you if you want to start your computer again, which you will. Now, for the purpose of this, I am using a thing called VirtualBox, which simulates a PC inside a PC. This gives you the ability to test Linux if you don't want to install it. So if you're building Linux on Windows, which is possible, then you can test it in VirtualBox, which means you won't end up damaging your hardware, or, well, basically with Linux you can't damage your hardware, you can't damage anything, because you just install it again. So VirtualBox acts exactly like a PC, and it's going to look identical to what you'll be seeing. So let's start. First you need to plug your USB stick in your computer, start again. Now you need to make sure it'll boot off USB sticks. A lot of computers, 90% of these computers, computers nowadays will do. There's a couple that don't, but you can check with your manufacturer's website if you're unsure, and how to actually do it. You can check their website. There's no point me telling you how to do it because on each computer there's another way of doing it. So you can go find that out yourself. But if you need any extra help, just comment below, and I will do my best to answer you and answer all the questions I get. So if we start this, and there you go. This is after you boot off the USB stick. This is the first thing you'll see. This is Ubuntu starting, and this is it loading stuff, and here we go. So this is loading all the system files like Windows would do, but it's not loading it off the hard drive, it's loading it off the USB stick. Ignore that message, that is just because I'm using VirtualBox. Okay, so this is now the installer, and on this installer, as you'll see in a bit, that it lets you try Ubuntu, which means you can use Ubuntu without installing anything to your computer. Now this is useful if you are unsure whether you want Ubuntu, so you can give it a go. You can do exactly the same things you can do if you install it just off the USB stick. Also, you can install Ubuntu on a USB stick and take it with you. So if you go to an internet cafe where you're allowed to, you can start your Ubuntu off your USB stick, so you're not using their Windows XP, and they might not, so they don't monitor you, possibly, if they're monitoring off the computer. And you can install all your documents onto it and stuff, and this means that you can install stuff and you can take it with you. It's convenient, and I use it in college sometimes to take in my applications with me when I need to. Okay, but for today we are going to be installing Ubuntu. So we'll click on this, and this just comes up with your options you have. You can download updates. You can do this, but there's no point. It'll ask you to download the updates when you install it anyway, and install this third-party software. This means if you install the third-party software, it means you can you can view other video and audio file formats that the licenses don't let you do unless you tick that box. So I suggest ticking that if you want to listen to music and watch videos. A lot of videos will work, but some of them won't, and you'll have to install the third-party software. But after you've installed it, you can install it then, so it's not an issue if you forget to install it or whatever. It's fine. So for the purpose of this, I'm not going to tick anything because I don't need to. So we'll continue, and now this gives you your options on how you want to install it and where. Because I've got nothing installed on my hard drive at the moment, because it's a new VirtualBox one, then it'll just install what's there. But if you have got things installed, it'll give you two options. It'll give you one option to install alongside, which means when you start your computer, it'll give you the choice whether to start Linux or Windows, or Linux and another version of Linux, and I think Mac. But for the purpose of this, we're going to wipe everything. And the second choice it gives you is to just wipe it and start again, and then you have a blank hard drive with, yeah. But so make sure you back up all your stuff. I can't say enough. I can't warn you enough to back up all your stuff, because the amount of times I've wiped my computer and forgot I left my documents on it. So it's not good. Okay, so we're going to start this. You can click on something else, and that gives you the choice to do advanced things, but for the purpose of this, you don't need to. So you just let it do it itself. So continue. This will give you the choice of where to install it. If you've only got one hard drive, yep, you can go on. But if you've got two or multiple partitions, which partitions are where the hard drive has been split up, then it'll give you a choice on which hard drive you want to install on. And I only want to install on this one because it's the only one I've got. But if you've got multiple hard drives and you want to have Windows on one, Linux on the other, that's fine. This will let you do it. So we install now, and we install to this. One thing I like about the Ubuntu installer is that it lets you customize it while it's installing, which gives it something to do. Because I remember back in the day, and still with Windows 7, that when you're installing something, you've got nothing to do other than look at a slideshow about them showing you the features of it. But in this, you select your time zone, which is London, and continue. You choose your keyboard layout. If you're not sure, this has a nice feature where you can detect your keys. So you push one of the keys that you've got. I've got a Y, so push that. I've got a W. No, I don't have one of those. No, I don't have one of those. 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 Don't. But yes, I do have a pound sign, and that says that I've got a UK English. And you can test your keyboard layout there. There we go. Continue. There you go. Just saving the settings. Okay. Now this is asking you who you are, as it says, and this is your name. My name's Joe. Your computer name. This you can change it to whatever you like. There are some limitations though about symbols and stuff, because you can't do the @ sign. As you see there, it may only contain letters, digits, hyphens, and dots. So I'm going to call my computer Joe VirtualBox, because it's VirtualBox. It'll automatically change your computer's name to your name, the first name of your name, and hyphen the computer name. So when I install it on my compact laptop, it says Joe-compact and my model number. And in most cases, you don't need to change that. I would just leave that like that, because that sort of helps you know whose computer it is when you're looking at network devices. And we'll talk about networking in more depth later on, and I will show you why computer names are important. Pick a username. Now, my username will be Joe, but by default, it will use the first name of your name as the username without capitals. So I would keep it without capitals just for easier, because if somehow you need to type your username somewhere and you don't do it with capitals, it's just a lot easier. You're not muddling up with capitals. Password. There we go. As you can see, I've got a weak password. That's just for testing. And here gives you the choice of what you want, how you want to log in. This one will let you log in automatically, so you don't have to type in your password. And this one makes sure you have to type in your password. In most cases, I would suggest that you've got to type in your password, because one, it's more secure and stops anyone accessing your information. But if it's just like a home computer or laptop that you don't take anywhere, it stays in the house, nobody else is going to come on it, then just log in automatically is fine. Okay, so we're going to make sure I need the password, and we're going to continue. Okay, so I'm going to go through a couple of things about Ubuntu, and I'm going to skip the installation because this takes a bit. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how fast your computer is and hard drive speeds and stuff like that. So, as you will notice with Ubuntu, it's quite easy to pick up. It's not like Windows, but you'll see some in some places where it looks like Windows and it acts like Windows. As you see, the installer here is downloading stuff, so I'll leave that do that. And a lot of the packages, by packages I mean like applications, software that you use, like Mozilla Firefox, that is on Linux. There's a lot of other stuff. I mean, you can't, VLC Movie Player is another one. You can't use a lot of this stuff, and the example I can think of is Steam. You can't use on Linux, and there's a lot of games you can't use on Linux. But there's an application on Linux called Wine. This emulates Windows, which allows you to use Windows applications on Linux, and I will do a video about that soon, and that will teach you how to use applications that only work on Windows on Linux as well. And depending on your computer, you can have quite high success or not. I mean, with a decent computer, I can play a lot of the games I play on Windows. I mean, I've played Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 on Linux before, because I installed Steam with Wine, and then it installed all the Call of Duty stuff, and that worked fine for me. But some other computers won't work as fine. Depends on how fast your computer is, because when you're emulating or making your Linux act like Windows, it's got to do twice as much. So, yeah. But other than that, it should be fine. It's worth giving it a go. It's worth testing stuff, because, you know, may as well. There's a lot of stuff that will work. iTunes is a bit dodgy on Linux, as I've used it before, but it sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Depends on your computer again. Battlefield I've played. Loads of other games I've tested and work. So it's just worthwhile giving it a go. Another thing is that if you're using Linux as an office OS on your laptop, then that's a good idea, because you haven't got all the stupid stuff that comes with Windows, and plus Linux is a lot faster than Windows. Linux comes with an application called OpenOffice, and that is compatible with all your docx files all your Office 2008 or whatever the latest one is. It's compatible with that, and it's also backwards compatible. You can save files as a .docx file and put it on a Windows machine or email it to people or whatever. The thing is, you can lose some formatting, like some fonts you don't have in Linux, some fonts you don't have in Windows, but that's all fine. It'll automatically change the font. And you've got stuff like PowerPoint, database, and many, many more. So it's a good Office application. Plus, if you've got an older laptop, like I have got about a 10-year-old Toshiba somewhere, and of course that will obviously will not work with Windows 7, but with the latest version of Linux it works fine, and it's usable again with the latest Ubuntu, which is amazing to me, meaning that a lot of your older computers you can pull out the cupboards now, or wherever you've stored them. You could even buy older computers, and they'll work fine. Like my laptop I use now is an old Fujitsu that's got Arch Linux on it, and it's an old laptop. You can't put Windows 7 on it, but it's fast with Arch Linux. And as you see, there's multiple types of Linux, and I will explain some of them and show you how to install them in another video. So if there's any versions of Linux you want and you've heard about and you like the look of because they look nice or whatever, then give me a comment or message on YouTube and I will see what I can do and I will put them all together. And also, if there's any applications you want me to show you how to install, then I will be glad to do that. After this video, the next video I will be uploading is showing you how to install XAMPP on Ubuntu. XAMPP is a web server, and if you've been watching Lewis's videos on this channel, then you will see that he's been using XAMPP a lot to do PHP stuff and a web server. So I will show you how to do that on Linux, which gives you the choice of Linux or Windows now, which is amazing. And I think that's it for the time being. Well, I will fast forward all this, so you don't have to see you don't have to watch it install, and I will speak to you when this finishes. There we go. As you can see, this installation is finished. As soon as the bar goes all the way full, you'll see this. This is asking you if you want to start the computer again. Just click on, the only thing you can click on. Now, before you do this, actually no, you can do this, it's fine, and I will show you why in a minute. This will start, and there we go, it's just shutting down. And this will then ask you, oh no, it won't ask you, it'll tell you to take out all your installation media, so that means CDs and USB sticks, to stop it booting into the installation again, so it will boot straight into the OS. And I will show that now. Don't know why mine's taking longer than normal, but hopefully. Okay, my thing's finished and installed. It will ask you to hit enter once you've taken out all those USB sticks or CDs or whatever you've done. Now, starting this, it will start again. Make sure it boots to hard drive, which your computer will normally do that automatically. So you don't need to. It doesn't matter too much about USB sticks, but because I'm in VirtualBox, I have to change it. But for those of you who are wondering if it's the same on on an actual computer in VirtualBox, yeah, it's identical. So as you can see, it looks a lot better now. This is coming off the hard disk. There we go, and this is the login display. So this will give you a choice to log in, shut down, stuff. As you can see, it's quite slow, but that's mainly because I am using VirtualBox. If you type in your password, and it will log in. There we go, logged in. And this is the desktop. It's quite empty at the moment, but I will show you how to install other things. But if you compare this to Windows, this button up here, the dash home, would be the start button. This gives you access to all your apps here, and all your apps here. To slide down this page, you can either use the middle button on the middle wheel on the mouse, or you can use this white bar here. There you go, this white bar here. And those are all the apps installed at the moment. You've got Office there, all the Office applications I was talking about. Mozilla Firefox, display settings if your display is looking weird. You can make a USB stick there, sound stuff, and other stuff. What I like about this is it gives you suggestions on things to download. You just click on these and they will download them. To download more apps, you've got the Ubuntu Software Center, which is here, and I will go more depth into applications and stuff in a later video. Just at the moment, I'm going to show you a quick thing just to get you started. As you can see, I have an alert on the Update Manager, which is telling me I need to update. So there we go. And I suggest that you install updates. As you can see, there's quite a lot of updates to do. But yeah, just install the updates. They make it more secure, add functionality and stuff. So it's a good idea. Okay, here's the Software Center. This allows you to download stuff, and it's whatever you want. So if you want an internet application, click on here. And say I want something like Wireshark, you can click on it, and you can install, which will then do it all automatically for you. This will then ask you to authenticate, just to show you the same user that logged in. There we go, install like that. This will download it and then install it. So if you want to get on the internet, or if you're going to use this Linux just for internet, which is many people do, because of how basic Linux is, well, how fast it is compared to Windows, it's a good alternative to use this, to use just as the internet. There's no point having a bulky OS just to use on the internet. Yeah, this is slow on this, I know, but that's because I'm in a VirtualBox. And VirtualBox is not ideal. So there we go, let's install that. There you go, Firefox should pop up soon. A lot of you who've used Mac will get into this quite quickly because of the sidebar style, the launcher, the dock. And here we go, we're connecting to the internet. So this looks sort of like the Firefox for Windows. As you see, I've got another alert here by some other application. And that's just when it loads. There you go. That was just because it was installing something. There we go. So we got the internet. We got on the better Google. And let that connect. And there we go. Google. Can install Google. and I'll show you how to do that later. And here's the minimize bars. Unless you make it smaller, so all the bars are then down here. You can close that, close it up there, doesn't matter, and there we go. And in future videos I will, as I said, I'm going to teach you how to install XAMPP, I will teach you how to install other applications. But if there's anything you need to know, leave a comment and tell me what you want. And that is it. That is all. And please subscribe to all our videos, because it helps, and it helps you to see new videos, and like our videos, because that helps a lot. So thanks a lot for listening, and I see you next time.